Daughter testifies against me and makes me lose custody of my kids to help her mother start a family with my brother because I was the villain in her mom's love story. After years of refusing to see me, she won't stop trying to get in touch now that she finally knows the truth and wants to drag mom to court, but I tell her to stop playing superhero. I'm 42, male, and have been divorced for 6 years now. My ex-wife, Pam, 41, female, got custody of all 3 of our children during the divorce even though she had been cheating on me. And I knew for a fact that the only reason she wanted full custody of all the children was because that was the only way she could get of all the children was because that was the only way she could get me to pay child support. That was the only way to get money out of me because she couldn't count on alimony, since it would be very easy for me to prove that she had been having an affair with my brother of all people. So instead of fighting for something that was already very dicey, she decided to play her cards right and manipulate our eldest daughter, Abby, into believing that I was the villain, so she would testify against me in family court. Our daughter was 16 at the time, old enough to testify and decide for herself who she wanted to stay with. And completely disregarding all the years that I had spent raising her, she decided to testify against me, saying that I was an emotionally unstable individual prone to fits of anger that were dangerous for all the kids, and that they should be removed from my custody for their own safety. And since my own daughter had said it, custody for their own safety. And since my own daughter had said it, the court took away my kids and placed them in Pam's custody. And all I got was supervised visiting rights at the beginning and mandatory counseling, after which I was promoted to unsupervised visits. On these visits, I only got to see my 2 younger kids. They were too young to testify. My son was 7 years old back then and my youngest daughter was 5. I think they were the only people who were upset to see me go and the only people who were happy to see me whenever I visited them. Currently, my son is 13 and my daughter is 11. And recently, they had been telling me that Pam and Abby had been getting into a lot of fights over the past couple of months. She's 22, and whenever she's visiting home during college breaks, she seems really stressed out. I found it very strange because Abby had always been Pam's darling. So much so that after the divorce, neither did she speak to me nor did she ever offer an explanation about why she had lied while testifying against me and made me lose custody. I knew that Pam must have said something to manipulate her, but I never found out what happened recently. This weekend, I went over to Pam and Jack's house, my brother. The 2 of them are married now, to collect the kids for the weekend as usual. And this time, Abby also decided to make an appearance. I was quite shocked because she never does this and everyone pretty much pretends that I'm not even here. But she came out with the kids and told me that she really needed to talk to me. I was kind of shocked, but I shook her off instantly and I told her that I didn't want to talk to her about anything. 6 years have passed and she may be my daughter, but I've never been able to forgive or forget what I've been through because of her decision to testify against me. So I left with the kids as soon as possible, spent a couple of hours with them, and when it was time to drop them back at home, she tried to talk to me again, but I ignored her and left as quickly as possible. After that, she started trying to call me, which she had never done in so many years. She started trying to text me saying that she needed to talk to me. And 2 days ago, I finally relented. It became clear that there was something urgent that she had to discuss with me. So I decided to finally talk to her and just get it over with purely out of curiosity. I agreed to meet her at my house. She came over in the evening and as soon as she was inside, she started apologizing to me and told me that she had misunderstood me and made the biggest mistake of her life by testifying against me. I was very confused. And so she explained to me finally what had actually led to her testifying against me. So for context, I never actually found out that Pam and Jack were having an affair until after she had filed for a divorce. She handed me the papers, told me about the affair, and that was that. Obviously, I tried to bargain with her and told her that I was willing to move past it, but she told me that she wanted to be with him and start a family with him. And after feeling upset about it for a couple of days, the anger and humiliation kicked in and I decided to go full throttle with my petition. But at least I had the decency to keep the kids out of it. I just wanted everything else. She would not get any alimony and neither would she get to keep the house or anything else that we had purchased during the course of our marriage. Basically, I just wanted all my assets for myself. That did not sit right with her since she realized that she was going to end up walking away with nothing. And at the time, Jack was not really doing well career-wise. So that's why the whole custody thing came into play. And she realized that child support was the only way to get me to cough up money for her. Our younger kids were way too young. So she decided to manipulate Abby and lie to her about a bunch of things, painting me to be the villain in this story. She convinced Abby that I was the one who had forced her to drop out of college in her 3rd year after she found out that she was pregnant with Abby. I was the one who had convinced her to drop the idea of working and building her career after Abby was born and we got married. She even accused me of treating her like a baby-making machine, demanding that she give me at least 3 babies. And, apparently, I was even planning on a 4th. She had convinced Abby that the only time I cared about her was when she was pregnant with my child. But, otherwise, I never even bothered to ask her how she was doing. And that's why she had started to see Jack behind my back, because he actually seemed to care for her on a personal level. And she convinced Abby that I was a bad guy in their love story, and she needed to help her out because I was planning on cheating her out of everything that she deserved. And so child support was the only way to get something out of me, at least. Abby ended up believing everything just because her mother was saying it and never questioned anything. So she testified against me. Then Jack and Pam convinced her to cut all grandparents out of her life as well because they were against whatever the two of them had done, and they didn't want Abby to find out the truth about me. She never questioned them even once. But recently, she got back in touch with her maternal grandparents because my ex-mother-in-law had a stroke. Jack and Pam were obviously not very happy about it because they decided once again to dig up old facts and present them to Abby so they could convince her to try and talk to me so she could find out the truth for herself. For the past few months, apparently, that's what they have been fighting about because Pam did not want Abby talking to me. And that just increased her suspicion because she's not as naive as she used to be at 16 anymore. Recently, she's been pretty sure of the fact that she had been used, and so she wanted to talk to me so we could sue her mother instead for everything that she had damaged. But as soon as she mentioned the idea to me, I shot it down and told her that I do not want to get caught up in any legal crap anymore. That I was done with it because I had had enough for a lifetime. She started insisting, saying that she had taken away so many years of our father-daughter relationship, that she deserved it, and maybe she did. But I was not interested in going back to court again. It was going to be a waste of my time and resources because now Abby knows the truth and I have moved on. The only thing that I might suggest to Pam now is maybe modifying the custody arrangement so that our younger kids can spend half the week with me so I don't have to end up taking her to court. But apart from that, I want to avoid any legal confrontation as much as I can. It's not about me being scared, it's just about what's practical. But Abby kept insisting, and after a while, I just lost it. I told her that I could understand that she felt bad about everything that had happened. But in all honesty, she had also allowed herself to be manipulated even though she knew that I was not the kind of guy that her mother was making me out to be. Back then, she wanted to play the superhero for her mom, and now she wants to play that role for me. I told her to stop meddling in things that don't concern her anymore because she's 22. There's no custody arrangement stopping her from spending time with me and fixing past wrongs. As for her siblings, I would see what had to be done about that. But apart from that, she seriously needed to stop forcing me to do something that I didn't want to just because she felt guilty. She seemed a bit shocked because I was quite loud and rude to her. Then she left and didn't try to get in touch with me again. And since then, I've been wondering if I was too hard on her this time. AITA for telling my daughter to stop meddling and trying to play the superhero everywhere. Edit. I haven't properly been in touch with my ex-in-laws for a very long time, so I had no idea that they were still trying to get Abby to talk to me. I spoke to them recently asking them about whatever they had said to Abby, and they told me that they had indeed asked her to get in touch with me, and they confirmed it. They told me that they didn't let me know because if Abby decided not to get in touch with me, my hopes would be raised for no reason. I thanked them and told them that it meant a lot to me. They had also testified in my favor along with my parents back when the time had come. So even that was kind of awkward given the circumstances of our relationship, and we had kept in touch. But for the past few months, I have been very busy with work, so I didn't have the time to speak to them. I'm glad though that they followed me in something like this, because Abby has finally found out the truth about her mom now. And it's all thanks to them. I can now file for shared custody of my other children, so that's a huge deal. And I'm very thankful. Update 1. Hey, so before I get into the update, I just want to clarify that in the past couple of years, it's not like I hadn't filed for shared custody of my younger kids. I had tried twice in the years following the divorce, but Pam fought tooth and nail because she knew that our younger kids were her only ticket to getting child support out of me since, by then, Abby was already an adult. And I hate to admit it, but she and her lawyer were pretty good at their job of making me the bad guy, so I was told to wait. And in the past 3 years, I had decided to wait it out, because I didn't want to waste my time, energy, and resources on a losing battle. It's complicated and it goes deep. So I didn't want to get into it, but rest assured, I tried my best. Now coming to the update, I decided to speak to my daughter after all and sort things out because I thought about it for a couple of days and I realized that the universe was giving me a second chance to get back the daughter that I had lost to Pam. And at the end of the day, I couldn't deny the fact that after Abby was born, I was so busy with work that I hardly had any time for her. And it was mostly Pam who spent all her days and nights with her. It wasn't like I was completely unavailable, but, naturally, having spent more time with her mother, she was closer to her as well. And like I mentioned in my original post as well, Abby was Pam's darling. So I tried to put myself in Abby's shoes, and I guess it would have been difficult for me to not believe my own mother as well, given how close the two of them were. She did mess up when she was 16, and she continued to believe her mother until recently. And that's something that she's gonna have to live with. She decided to lie about me and screw me over in favor of her mother and made me lose custody of her siblings for years. And that's also something that's going to stay with her forever. But the fact that she owned up to it and decided to come to me so that she could fix things, I think that counts for something. So after a lot of deliberation, I decided to at least talk to her instead of just letting her go and never acknowledging her apology or anything. And that's why earlier today, I decided to finally call her up, and I told her that I was willing to talk to her again. And if she wanted to sort things out, she could show up in the evening at my house. But unfortunately, she told me that she had already returned to college. However, we settled on having a FaceTime call with each other so we could at least talk things out temporarily for now. So in the evening, we hopped on a FaceTime call, and after exchanging readings, we got down to the business. I told her that I was very disappointed that in the past 6 years, never had she ever questioned the truthfulness of all the stories that her mother had fed her. I also told her that given how I had always treated her with love and affection and respect ever since she was a child, I found it ridiculous that she had chosen to lie in her mom's favor. And no matter how much I tried to move past that, it would be impossible for me to forget about it and pretend that everything was fine. That was something that she was going to have to deal with, and she told me that she was aware of it. She told me that there was nothing that she could do to fix the past. She had made a bunch of mistakes, and she had never bothered to second-guess herself because she was just so sure that her mom would never lie to her, and she was convinced that I was a bad guy who was good at hiding it. But now that she had realized how massively she had screwed up, she really wanted to make it up to me. And even if I didn't want to go after her mom legally, she still wanted me to at least give her a second chance and prove herself to be a better daughter than she was the first time around. She accepted the fact that some of these things were just going to haunt her for the rest of her life, and she was never going to be able to live it down herself, let alone expect me to forget about it and move on and pretend as if she had never caused so much trauma and misery for me. But all she was asking was for a second chance so that she could at least undo some of the damage and try to rebuild a better relationship with me. After we were done talking about these things, I told her that I still needed some time because this was all really sudden, and I needed some space and time to process everything. She agreed to it and told me that I could take all the time that I needed and that she was always going to be sorry about whatever she had done. She tried really hard, but in the end, she did end up crying and so did I. Ultimately, I'm glad that we chose to have this conversation because I think we got a lot of things out in the open, and that's the only way we can try and get out of this mess that Pam created. If I'm being honest, I myself have no idea if I'll be able to forgive her and completely move past all of this, but it's at least worth a try. Update 2. So it's been a couple of days since my last update, and after speaking to Abby, I decided to speak to Pam. Our daughter is still giving me my space, so I can think things over, but I decided to go over Pam regarding the custody arrangement so we can modify it and make sure that our younger children can spend more time with me. I was already planning on doing it this year and the perfect opportunity had presented itself. So I contacted her, told her that I needed to talk to her about the custody arrangement. And just as I had expected, she started trying to dodge it and told me that she was busy this week, the next week and the next. Obviously she was lying, so I told her that Abby had already spoken to me and if she did not want me to drag her to court and sue her for whatever she had done, then she had better meet me and modify the custody arrangement legally. And I also told her that I wanted her to stop taking child support money from me, because I knew that she and her husband had started a new business. So clearly, they were not doing too badly on the money front. I also told her that I wanted my money back. However, she could afford to give it to me or else I would be taking her to court with Abby because now she was ready to testify in my favor and the whole truth was going to come out. So she could either do it without facing legal repercussions because I wasn't too keen on going to court anyway, or else, we could do things the hard way, and this was completely her choice. Now that I had Abby on my side, I was not afraid of anything and neither did I care what she thought of me for fretting her like this because I thought I had earned the right to do this after everything that she had put me through. She went completely quiet on the other end and told me that she needed some time to think about it and her tone had changed significantly from earlier. There was not a hint of attitude or sass and that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I told her that she had until the end of the week to make up her mind, but then if I didn't have an answer by then, I would definitely be speaking to my lawyer and who knows. She might end up losing even more if we went the legal route. She got very upset and started telling me that this was blackmail and I told her that I really didn't care what it was because I had spent many years of my life trying to stay out of this mess, but now I just don't care anymore. I wanted my money back, I wanted my life back, and most importantly, I wanted my kids back, and I don't care what I have to do to get it all back, be it blackmailing her or taking her to court. Up until a couple of days ago, I had been feeling very differently about it, but I realized that it was just because I had had a very negative experience earlier. However, with Abby on my side, I don't think that I would have to worry about that. Update 3. So it's the end of the week. Yesterday, I spoke to Abby and told her whatever I had spoken to her mother about. And I asked her if she really would be willing to testify in court once again and go against her earlier testimony, because even though she was 16 at the time and legally a minor, it might get her into trouble. She told me that she was confident that even if she did get into trouble, it would be for a good cause, because whatever Pam had done to me and to her, it was not right, and there was no way that she could justify it. On top of that, if she was being honest with herself, even what she had done was not right. She knew that she was lying and that she had chosen to go with it because she wanted Pam to get her way. And even then, it had been a difficult call for her to make because she wasn't a liar by nature, but she had to do it because her mother asked her to, and she had to go against me because of the behavior she hadn't even personally witnessed. But now she was ready to do whatever it took to make amends. And even if she got into trouble, she didn't care about it. I actually ended up tearing up when she said that because that just made me realize that she was serious about all of this. She wasn't saying it for the sake of it. But even then, I had my fingers crossed that Pam would do what I had asked her to do without making much of a fuss and without forcing me to take this up in court. Because, honestly, I wanted to avoid that legal mess. And if she had any idea what was good for her, she would want the same thing as well. Today, earlier in the day, I decided to finally call her up to ask her about her answer. And when I called, she didn't answer the first couple of times. But then I told her that ignoring the problem was not going to make it disappear. Then she finally called me back, and for the first couple of minutes, she just hand and hoard and wasted my time. But, ultimately, I just asked her straight up if she had an answer for me or if I would have to speak to my lawyer because I was getting exhausted talking to her. Finally, after beating about the bush for several minutes, she told me that she was ready to agree to my terms. All that she requested was that I don't get the lawyers involved. And I told her that I was ready to do that as soon as we made sure that within the next month itself, the first check should be cleared. She started bargaining with me once again, saying that she and my brother had just started a new business and that it was going to take time to break even, but I didn't care. I had given her enough time over the years. She had never owned up to her mistakes, never tried to make amends, so now I didn't owe her anything. But I'm an honest man, so I was not going to take any more money than what I deserved. I had gone over the accounts of the past couple of years, whatever she had taken from me in the name of child support, and I'm pretty sure she had set it aside for her personal use. And even if she hadn't, it didn't matter because she was not entitled to any of it in the first place. I'm pretty sure that's the money she used to fund her business in the first place. So I had my accountant name and amount, and she would have to clear that. I was not going to use that for myself. I was just going to keep it aside for the kids in the future, but she didn't have to know that. Anyway, I was going about it honestly, and I was going to take not one more penny than what I felt I deserved, unlike her. So I told her that she should just take that as my last gesture of goodwill and be happy that I have decided not to take this up with the law. After that, she tried to negotiate with me some more, but I just hung up. Then I texted her and told her that I did not want to talk to her. It was just a waste of my time. I just wanted the paycheck to come in from time to time. And if there was ever any delay, she could rest assured that I was going to take her to court. I also spoke to my lawyer, and while I didn't want to drag her to court, I thought that it would be good to have at least a contract. And I told her that I was going to send it by next week and she had to sign it. These were my terms, and I think I'm being perfectly just. Whether anybody likes my behavior here or not is completely secondary to me because I think the time for all of that has passed. I'm no longer going to take any sort of crap from anyone, least of all Pam or anybody who has anything to do with her like Jack. Update 4. So it's been a few months since my last update, and Abby and I have been actively working on improving our relationship. It's not been easy. Sometimes I get distant. I get reminded of everything that has happened, and it's not easy to move on from it. Times like this, she's clever enough to give me space, and afterwards, we still talk to each other and try to sort things out. We're making progress. It's slow but steady, and I'm sure that we will be able to improve the situation. Pam has been holding up her end of the deal, and I'm holding up mine by not dragging her to court. She has also signed the contract that I spoke about in my last update, so we have a formal agreement and she cannot back out of it. I'm getting back everything that I lost, and I'm really happy about it, especially about the fact that I'm getting to spend more time with my children, including Abby. I know a lot of people were unhappy about the fact that I decided to forgive her. They said that she was going to betray me again, but as a father, I really don't think that's going to happen. We've been working on rebuilding our bond, and people do make mistakes. I really think that even I would be screwed if people decided to hold my mistakes that I had made at 16 against me. So I'm willing to give her a second chance, and I believe that everything will work out well.